What do you at? It's Paul from Wicked Acorn. Ah, had some technical problems there this morning already, and the internet is not behaving properly. I'm not getting a good signal into the house. Anyway, we won't worry about that unless it becomes a problem. Uh, Let me know if it's becoming a problem because I can't monitor what's happening at the same time as I talk to you. Uh, August 8th, this day in history. Let's have a look. We got a few things to talk about this morning, some events that happened this day in history. All right. So, this day in history, you'll forgive me, I had to restart everything, and that wasn't the problem. The problem appears to be the feed coming into the house, and I guess going out of the house too. On this day in history, Galileo Galilei, 1609, he presents his telescope to the Venetian Senate in Venice, Italy. And as you may know, that probably didn't work out too well for him because a couple of decades later, Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei arrives in Rome for trial before the Inquisition for professing the belief that the earth revolves around the sun. And couple of months after that, he recants his heretical position that the earth orbiting the sun is at odds with the Bible and church teaching, and the Vatican apologizes in 1992 for how it handled the case. This is something we're going to come back to. On this day in history in 1709, the first known ascent in a hot air balloon by Bartholomew de Gusmao, and it was indoors. So this just gives us a chance to get some people online here. This is a little preamble to get some people aware that we're online here this morning and talk about this day in history. This guy here, today in 1729, the town of Baltimore is founded in British North American colony in the province of Maryland. And this guy, Lord Baltimore, I can't remember his name, Lord Calvert Baltimore. He was actually the governor of the colony of Newfoundland. In a place called Fairyland, he had a colony, and it was a failed colony. The French gave him a lot of trouble. The French were invading pirates, and so he had a lot of trouble and packed up his bags and formed a colony in Maryland. And the capital of Maryland, Baltimore, was named after him. But he was also a figure in Newfoundland history. This day in history in 1786, the almighty dollar. The US Congress unanimously chooses the dollar as the monetary unit for the United States of America. There you go. And nothing's been the same since, has it? Another balloon story this morning. The 1929 German airship Graf Zeppelin begins the first round the world flight by airship departing from Lakehurst, New Jersey. And don't have a picture of this one, but the Soviets in 1953 report that they had the hydrogen bomb this day in history. And here's a fun one. The itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini hits #1 on the Billboard charts in 1960. 1963, the Great Train Robbery in England involves the theft of £2.6 million. And on this day in history, this famous photograph was taken. And This less famous photograph was taken. That's one by Linda McCartney before they set off to go across the street. The album cover was taken by Ian McMillan as they walked across the street to EMI Studios. This is one, we missed this one on August 6th. This is an interesting one that we missed, and it has a Greater Manchester connection. It is Beecham Pills. On August the 6th, Beecham Pills, August 6th, 1859, the world's first advertising slogan. There you go. Beecham Pills, worth a guinea a box, appeared on this day. In those days, there was 20 shillings to a pound, and a guinea amounted to 21 shillings, a fantastic amount for a pick-me-up box of pills. They actually sold for a fraction of that, of course, but the notion that they could be worth a guinea was highly contentious. Now that would, I think that advertising slogan would not be recommended today, to say that they're worth a guinea a box, worth more than they're selling for. I don't think that would work these days. You'd just see, oh, they're a guinea a box, I'm not buying them. In 1912, the British Medical Association investigated the pills and concluded that they were made of 40% aloes, 45% ginger, and 15% powdered soap. This failed to shake the faith of British public in what was considered to be a wonderful cure-all, and business continued to be brisk. It all started in 1840 when Thomas Beecham set out with a bag of remedies to make his fortune in the cities of northern England. He had worked on a farm and developed an interest in herbalism while tending animals. So the pills first came on the market in Wigan, here in Greater Manchester. Pride of place amongst his stock of cures were the pills that he named after himself, and were presented at first as a simple laxative, but the medicine quickly gained a reputation for curing all sorts of ailments and disorders, and the business thrived. In 1859, Beecham built a factory to cope with the demand, and Beecham Pills began to be exported across the world. So yeah, it's big business, big deal, Beecham Pills, and they came up with the first advertising slogan on this day in history. Isn't that strange? So the first one that comes to my mind is good to the last drop. Was that Maxwell House? Good to the last drop. Can you think of any others? I can't think of any others at the moment. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. But if you can think of any other slogans that I might know or might not know. So we talked about this place yesterday, and Rick Ainsworth gets honorable mention, I guess. He didn't say where it was, but he said he knew where it was, so we'll give him honorable mention. And Carl Walker was the only one that identified it properly. So congratulations, Carl. And of course, we all know that it is. Go away. That's Jackson's boat.
How far back can you see? You can see the third
It's
one.
apparently in
1,
sail.
2, 3, but not the
People
fourth.
in Charlton cum Hardy will argue that point, but its mailing address is in Sale, and that's a well-known spot here in our area. So we'll come back to another name that place in a moment. But I wanted to look at this photo because this day in history, the first hot air balloon flight took place indoors in, when was it? 1709. First known ascent in a hot air balloon by Bartholomew de Gusmao. And we talked about this yesterday with the airplanes and stuff, and I mentioned James Sadler. And James Sadler was the first to fly, the first Englishman to fly in a balloon in Britain. So we're going to take a look at a video we did about that a couple of years ago, and let's see what happens.
Hi, it's Paul from Wicked Acorn. If I asked you to meet me where Manchester's first airfield was, you might think surely it must be Ringway or maybe Trafford Park Aerodrome. But you'd have to think back farther than those places. This place was used as an airfield almost 100 years before the Wright brothers were even born. The blue plaque explains it best. From a garden on this site, James Sadler, pioneer English aeronaut, made the first manned balloon ascent in Manchester on the 12th of May, 1785. James Sadler was neither high-born nor well-educated, and much of his early life is unknown. He worked in a cafe baking pastry. With the little spare time he had, he managed to design, manufacture, and fuel his own airworthy balloon. He tested his early creations with a string of unmanned flights. By May 1784, Sadler was confident enough to send a dog aloft. This was 180 years before the Soviets launched Laika into the heavens to test the machine's airworthiness, and 40 years before the founding of the RSPCA. Upon landing, the dog was nowhere to be found. Perhaps the poor animal had enough and was not chancing a second flight. But the test had the desired effect. Sadler was ready for the next step, piloting his own balloon. To say that Britain wasn't fully prepared for air flight is an understatement. An earlier unmanned balloon that landed in Devon was attacked by pitchfork-wielding farmers, fearing it to be some sort of demon come to steal their cows. When people heard of the crazy baker's plan, they warned him against colliding with heaven itself and asked if he had planned to take any weapons, lest he be attacked by sky dragons. The nature of air flight wasn't fully understood. It was thought that you could simply row through the skies as if you were in a boat, which is why Sadler counted 2 large oars among his first flight apparatus. Sadler judged it was time to attempt the feat himself. Most early balloonists depended on attracting paying observers to cover the considerable costs involved. Sadler advertised his intention to render the performance the most perfect one of its kind that has ever been exhibited in public. Unfortunately, Oxford was out of term at the time, and that public was rather thin on the ground. Sadler decided to postpone his maiden voyage until the new term in October.
So that's what happened. He postponed the flight because that's how they made their money, by paying customers to come look at their balloon before they took off. So he postponed the flight, and that's how he lost the honor of being the first to fly in a balloon in Britain, which you'll find out here in a second. But we talked about that yesterday. I was talking about A.V. Rowe. I can't remember what his initials stand for. Alex, I don't know. A.V. R.O.E. Avro. Everybody in Greater Manchester knows of Avro. And he was the first Englishman to fly in an aeroplane in Britain. First Englishman. Cody was the first, an American. So both first flights were by foreigners in this country. And which we talked about yesterday. Samuel Cody was the first to fly in this country, and he was also the first casualty of flight. He was killed in a plane crash yesterday in 1912 or something. Uh, anyway, just thought I would fill you in on how we got here.
This delay denied him the privilege of being the first man to ever fly in England. By the time Sadler made his first launch, the Italian Vincenzo Lunardo had already made the ascent from London. Sadler's fifth flight was the first manned balloon ascent in Manchester. Ballooning was expensive, and nobody had ever seen anything like this before. To help fund his flight, Sadler would put his balloons on display before flying them, charging people for the chance to marvel at this entirely new miracle machine. He took off from the recreational gardens attached to a house owned by John Howarth in Long Millgate, with a crowd of 5,000 gathered to witness this scientific marvel. Sadler took to his flying machine with his cat for company and proceeded to fly 7 miles north to Radcliffe, taking an hour and 3/4 before landing in a reed bed. Flying in a balloon at a height of 3,600 feet when people were used to nothing faster than a horse. He became the first Englishman to ever take flight. The alley behind the grounds later became known as Balloon Street. In 2015, a public square was named after him, and nearby you can find his blue plaque. Nobody had heard the name James Sadler until February 1784. By 1814, he would draw crowds of up to 30,000 to watch his marvelous flying machine. He became an overnight celebrity as balloon fever gripped the nation. Whole towns would close down for the day to watch the balloonist in action. It marked the beginning of Manchester's long and continuing history in flight. From humble working-class beginnings as a pastry chef, he went on to immortality for his achievement. From Alcock and Brown's first transatlantic flight to Tim Peake spending 186 days in space, James Sadler was the first. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out our webpage where you'll find all kinds of Manchester things, wickedacorn.com.
So I'm just going to go back here to show you this bit here. I was trying to get things ironed out here, but this guy, I gotta let it
Life is unknown. He worked in a cafe baking pastry. With the little spare time.
So this guy is a pastry chef, uneducated, just a working class guy back in the 1700s. And it wasn't a hot air balloon, it was a hydrogen balloon. And you remember the Hindenburg, that didn't work out too well as a fuel or for making balloons fly. But, it worked quite well, but it was highly flammable, of course, which was very dangerous. But it was a hydrogen balloon. He made hydrogen, a pastry chef. And hydrogen hadn't even been discovered. It wasn't on the periodic table. It hadn't been named. Hydrogen wasn't, I guess they knew it existed, but it hadn't been named as an element on the periodic table. There was no name for hydrogen. So pretty amazing that this low-born guy can come come up with a way to make hydrogen and make enough of it to float a balloon. And that's how Balloon Street got its name. And I was walking along one day in Balloon Street. Why the hell is this called Balloon Street? What a weird name. That's how it got its name, Balloon Street. Um, we were looking at this video yesterday, and I was talking about Cody, who was the first man to fly in Britain. And I was talking about how ridiculous these machines looked, and that I would never go aloft in such a thing. And we ran out of time, and I wanted to show you this because when you look at these old films and videos of these contraptions, they just look so flimsy and just like, no, I wouldn't do that. But when I was making the video for the London to Manchester air race, I came across this video, and these guys, so if you just notice that that's Louis Pilon, the guy that won the London to Manchester air race. And just notice that thing over his right shoulder there. I guess that's the fuel tank. And these guys, in this next clip, made a replica of this machine. I don't know what language they're speaking, but you can see the fuel tank there. So it's an exact replica, other than they had to have instruments because you wouldn't be allowed to fly it without instruments nowadays, unless you can launch it by hand, which of course you can't launch this contraption by hand. But when you look at this thing, you're like, yeah, I'd have a go at that. I'd definitely fly in that thing. It's amazing how the black and white just makes it look like a piece of junk. It certainly is not. It's I look at that and I go, yeah, I could make one of those. I have the well, I don't have the tools to do such a thing, but not in this country. I have the tools back in Canada to build such a thing, but yeah, that's something I could build. And you can see how it works, and yeah, that would fly, and I would definitely have a go in that. And I like the wicker chair there. That's brilliant. You know, lightweight, save on weight, and comfortable. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I love these guys.
Фарман, регистрационный номер, изготовлено
Don't know what language they're
в
speaking.
2018 году, 7 сентября,
But I'll just
производитель Статис Чапайтис.
show you some of it flying, because we were talking about this yesterday. Pretty amazing. But it wouldn't take much to throw you off course, and of course the guys that did the London to Manchester air race had no instruments. They had no idea where they were going, just following the railway tracks to from London to Manchester. And you know, it wouldn't take much cloud, and that's a nice clear nice day there. It wouldn't take much cloud to get lost, and that happened in the London to Manchester air race. Anywho, that's brilliant. I love that machine. I would definitely have a go at that. But we'll come back to our photo for the for Monday. So I will show you another photo and see if you can figure out where this place is. Now, I don't think that place is there anymore, but I can recognize where it is, where it was, but I don't recognize that church, so I have to have a look and see if that church is still there, that steeple in the background. So that's your question for Monday. Can you tell me where that place is? Last was, yesterday was Jackson's Boat, and Carl Walker got that one right. So this one's for Monday. So have a go at that. And I've got an adventure this evening that I've already been to this place and done some video, but they're doing something special this evening. So a second visit to this place and do some video of that. That's going to be fun. I can't wait. I was going to take apart this phone and this smashed up phone and try and get the camera out of it so I could do some special video, but that was too much messing around, and I came up with a way to make a periscope for my phone. Anyway, hopefully it's going to work. We'll find out this evening, and I guess you'll find out Monday or sometime next week. So have a great weekend. We had a rough start here this morning. The internet was not treating us well. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. We'll see you in the next one.